believe Dak Prescott when he says there is no frustration on his part? And I will remind everyone that about the tweets from his side of this that suggested that there was a lot of frustration, at least amongst his camp, with the way this thing turned out. Do you believe him when he says there's no frustration?
No, I don't believe that. I think there's definitely frustration there. He wanted to get a contract in place. He wanted to be there a long time, and they didn't offer him or give him the money that he or his camp wanted. So I think there's definitely frustration there. Anytime you're a player, a football player trying to get a contract and the organization doesn't want to give you what you feel like you are worth, then there's going to be some tension there. And I think that this year especially, he's motivated to go out there and prove his worth. And you talk about, unstable times. If he goes out there and he plays well and he leaves the Cowboys, talk about unstable. They're not going to have stability at the quarterback position for years to come. So, for me, it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't try and lock him up. I understand that they have some question marks, but if he can go out there, if Dak can go out there and win football games, get into the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, maybe they'll pay him.
What do you think, RC, as far as this relationship is concerned? Again, we talked at great length about this earlier this morning, but the idea that maybe Jerry and Dak right now don't see eye to eye, is that the kind of thing that impacts a team? And do you think it's the kind of thing that impacts the chances that they stay together long term?
It definitely impacts the chances that they stay together long term. I don't necessarily know if it impacts a team. I've been on teams where people have had contract, discussions that haven't worked out well, but the team still played well. That player was motivated to play well and show people that he was worth the money or the contract that he was asking for. And a lot of times this rallies the team to want to do well for their leader. And so do I think it's hurt the relationship between the quarterback and the organization? Yes, but I don't think it has to affect the locker room, especially when Dak Prescott is at least handling it so well with so much class publicly, and he's still going to go out and do his job because he's an independent contractor, and he knows in order to get what he wants in the long run, he has to perform on the field in 2020.
So, Dan Graziano, where does this thing go from here? We run through the options and the different ways this thing could play out for the Cowboys and for Dak going forward.
Well, they can't talk contract again until after their season ends. So their hope, of course, is that that's the second week of February and that he has led them to a Super Bowl. And at that point, they pretty much would give him whatever he wants. But, to Ninkovich's point, they did try to pay him. And he just didn't get the contract he wanted. Let's think about who Dak Prescott is. He actually is the guy that stared down Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, knew what kind of deal he wanted and didn't want, and didn't settle for their last best offer. In terms of going forward, you hear from people inside that building how focused and driven he is. Dak Prescott's a fourth-round pick who became a starter by surprise as a rookie, won the division title 2 of his first 3 years, has endured significant personal tragedy in his life off of the field. He's strong-minded and will not be affected by the lack of a contract and having to play for only $31.4 million on a franchise tag this year.
Wouldn't say that we've been as smart as we need to be about the game of football. Ryan Clark, I'm trying to figure out a way to interpret that isn't a shot at Jason Garrett, and I can't do it.
Pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew,
I can't do it.
You remember that game? What was it, Gallagher? The little game with the little thing you spin on the bottom? I used to play it with the Pac-Man. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, listen. Those are shots. No matter how he necessarily meant it, that was a shot at Jason Garrett's coaching style. But I will say this. I'm not going to pile on Jason Garrett that way. Sometimes, like I got to play for Bill Cowher in his last year where he had a team that was veteran. He had a team that he had been around a long time. I can't necessarily say that Bill Cowher, who's a Hall of Fame coach, put all this knowledge on me or taught me so many different things, or playing for him was this great experience where I learned from this Hall of Fame coach things that helped catapult me through the rest of my career. But when Mike Tomlin came in and he had something to prove and it was a new voice and it was fresh, you did feel like you were learning things, not because the things were groundbreaking, but just because they were new, because it's a new verbiage, because it's a new scheme, a new staff, a new excitement. And so Mike McCarthy has brought that. Mike McCarthy may have needed to bring that to this team. And so that gets you excited for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. But Jason Garrett He was the mad clapper, and the mad clapper was going to do things a certain way, but he had been doing them that way for a decade in Dallas. This is a new voice. This is needed, but I'm not going to say that Jason Garrett wasn't a good coach or isn't smart, because I played with JG, and he truly is an intelligent man. It was just time for a new voice in Dallas.
Yeah, and no one is questioning whether he's smart or not. That's clear. But Rob Ninkovich, the style, just the difference in the personal styles of McCarthy and Garrett might be the key to this.
Yeah, and I said earlier that Mike McCarthy, don't let the smile fool you. He looks, he's very happy to have a new head coaching job, but I can guarantee that he's going to get in and yell at people, make people uncomfortable. He's an intense guy, and maybe that's what the Cowboys need. You have a young team, and I think that Mike McCarthy is a good coach for that team to fire people up. If you're not doing your job, if you're not understanding what we're trying to do here, he's going to let you know about it. And I think that Jason Garrett on the other end of things probably wasn't a guy that was going to get in your face and scream and yell. And sometimes you need that. You need a coach to tell you what you're doing wrong, and maybe not just tell you, scream at you basically, and it gets you motivated as a football player. So look, I think that the Cowboys are in a great position with McCarthy, and I think it's going to be a good combination there of a new coach coming in. Situational football. Look, when I was in New England, that's Bill Belichick's go-to, situational awareness. And I think Mike McCarthy is going to coach them up on that.
And look, there's two kinds of coaches, essentially, right? There's the pat you on the back and the kick you in the butt kind. Neither one is necessarily right or wrong. But usually when you change from one, you go to the other. Yeah. Go ahead, RC. What?
You got to be able to do both. You have to be able to do both, though, Greeny. And I think that was sometime what Jason Garrett was missing. He wasn't able to do both. Everything was always positive. You always felt like there was another play. But sometimes there isn't. And that's what Mike McCarthy is going to have to impart on this team, that this play counts as much as the play before it, as much as the next one. But this one counts right now. You need to focus and be better today, better at this point. And Mike McCarthy is going to bring that there.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.